All right. Good to see all of you here. Thanks for inviting me, folks. And hello and good morning if you're in this part of the world. And this is Saptarshi. I'm a director of design at Swiggy. Now, I have a long name even for Indian standards. Of course, I'm from India. So, friends and everyone calls me Sapta. Please feel free to do that. And that's Sapta for you. And before we start, I just want to set one thing, one expectation with you. So my camera is here and my screen is here, right? So you will constantly see me moving my eyes between these two places. So please don't get distracted. I'm with you on this. So yeah, let's get started. And today I'm going to talk about being a people manager because I'm a people manager. I manage people in my work. And what essentially makes me a people manager are nothing but my team itself. So that's my team. These are some of the people that I manage. Of course, when I made this slides, the team was relatively smaller. Now the team is much bigger, almost 1.5 times of this. But yeah, these are some of the people that I manage. So they are the ones who make me a people manager. All right. So let us start with a simple question. I probably know the answer, what you might gonna give, but let's see. Do you want to be a people manager? Can we have the poll, please? Please go ahead and cast your vote if you haven't already, and we will look at the results shortly. Can we also publish the results right away? Is that how it works? Folks at the backstage, if you could just let me know. Awesome. So here we have the results. 89% of you say that you want to be a people manager. Awesome. Really happy happy to see that. So maybe for the rest of the people, the rest of the 10%, or even the 89% of the people who have said yes, you want to. Let me share my thoughts around what people management is. But of course, before we start, I would also like to call out that I'm here in India, Bangalore, India, and I'm a people manager at a startup, but it's a fairly big startup right now. We are a decacorn, as we call it. I work for this company called Swiggy. So whatever I'm going to say is in context of this, a medium to large size startup in a place like India. And things may change depending on the scale and the geography of the company you would be managing people in. So just keep that in mind. All right, let's go ahead and see. Here's what I do things for the team. That is the team that you have seen. I grow them. It's my work to grow the team, find the right talent, and make sure I have the right talent pool to do the kind of work that I'm expected to do as a leader in the organization. Number two is I enable them. Once I have the team, I'll have to enable them so that they become the best versions of themselves and give out the best results and output. And also, they themselves grow in their career in the process. Number three is to unblock them. When they're working, they may get stuck at different situations at work, be it in terms of taking decisions or some hands-on work or anything at all. So unblocking is one of my work. And number four, of course, is evaluate them. When they work, how they have worked, give them feedback at the right time, actionable feedback, so that they can improve, get better, or essentially just be better versions of themselves, if I were to put it that way. So I could think of these four kind of work that I do as a people manager: grow, enable, unblock, and evaluate. So throughout the talk, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some thoughts around what I feel people management is, or how my day, my work as a people manager is, and how I do these four things. And I'll also try and cite some examples as I speak today. All right, so IC versus management, individual contribution versus management. Now, all of us start as individual contributors, as designers, and we arrive at a junction where we decide whether we want to continue remaining an IC or we go into the managerial path. I, of course, have taken the managerial path. So let us see some of the comparison between them, right? And of course, when we say management out here, I'll be meaning design management or people management in the design side of things, right? No matter which part of the which part you are in, whether you're an IC or a manager, you also do a bit of the other part, right? So if I were to just show you some sort of a split up, very rough, as an IC, as an individual contributor, probably you will spend 70 to 80% of the time doing hands-on work, right? And 20 to 30% it could be other work. The other work could be about maybe mentoring someone, or discussing someone, or trying to do some documentation and stuff like that. So there's always an other work part of things which is beyond your hands-on, even though you're an individual contributor, because there could be a notion that an individual contributor always works on the tool, always works on Figma or something. That's not really the case. You also do other kind of work, and I think you know what I'm talking about. As a manager, this number kind of flips, right? So as a manager, you will still be doing hands-on work, and I'll show you how, to what capacity. Maybe around 20 to 30% of the time you could be doing hands-on work, and 70 to 80% of the time is the other work, right? And the other work is what we are going to look at in details in a while. And of course, this number can be very different for different people. Now, at the stage where I am in right now, my hands-on work is much lesser than the 20 to 30 that you see, because my other work portion keeps getting larger over time. And again, this split up is going to largely change depending on the nature of the company, the size of the company you are in. So let's have a look. I tried to plot a graph. I made this on Figma. Okay, don't complain me for the numbers. So as to how deep a person can go as an IC versus a manager, right? So if we just look at it, let us assume that the width is nothing but the breadth of different kinds of things that is available in your company or something. And the vertical one, let's assume that's the depth. So as an individual contributor, what usually happens is you take up one or two of work at a time maybe, and then you go really deep into it and you stay in the depth because you're solving some important problems out there. You need to involve yourself way too much to understand the depth of it, so that you find effective solutions. That's what IC does. That's what you have been doing all your life as an individual contributor, and you continue to do that as and when you stay in the individual contribution path, maybe as an architect, as a principal designer, staff designer, and so on. Whereas a manager, of course, I should have made the breadth of the manager wider, but excuse me for that. I'm not an expert on data representation. As a manager, you will be involved in many different things, way more than what an individual contributor is. But the thing is, you will have a bird's eye view of what is happening. And as and when needed, you will take deep dives where you will go really deep for some time, maybe just unblock that part or solve one small part, help your team out, and then quickly get out of it. So there's a lot of context switching that happens. If you see this small graph that I have drawn, there are 3 dives that you see, and these 3 dives are not necessarily for the same single project. It could be for very different projects which your team members are working on. So you should be prepared for this context switching, where you'll have to go very deep into one thing, and the very next moment, or maybe sometime later, you'll have to go very deep into something which could be very different. So that's one of the things which makes the work of a manager a little challenging. And yeah, that's a graph for you. Moving forward, this is how it is, right? Like an IC could be involved in one thing, whereas a manager could be taking these chunks of dives at multiple instances for different projects, right? So this kind of sums up what an IC does versus what a manager does. And if I were to just give you a TLDR, what is the short, or what is the summary of all the things that I do as a manager? I essentially take decisions. I make decisions in various instances, big, small, and so on, right? So let's go and look at a few examples of the kind of work that I do with my team. Of course, I alone is nothing up there. I build frameworks. So it's my job to think in frameworks, things which can be reused at multiple places, things which effectively solves one problem, so that it's an efficient process and we don't keep solving the same problem again and again. So building framework is one of the most important things that I do. One of the recent things that I did along with my team was revamping the menu of our Swiggy app. So for folks who do not know, Swiggy is a hyperlocal delivery service. We had started with food delivery way back 8 years back, but today we are into groceries, food, and a few other things. So we are almost like that super app, which is into a lot of things, right? So I'm particularly talking about the food menu out here. So there are lots of details that needs to be mentioned or that needs to be present in the menu. And the header section is the place where you have all the details of the restaurant. What is it? How far is it? What are the ratings, reviews, everything. Whereas the rest of the part, of course, is the menu where you have all the items put out there. So what you see is the design that we had worked on. This is the revamped one. And in the past world, we had a very different kind of menu where we didn't really have the space for all kinds of details that we would want to push. So here we went ahead and built a framework where things can open up and close and show the things that are needed at a particular point of time and not show them when they're not needed. So the header section that you see, that can be pulled down. And when you pull, it can expose something very visual, because we believe that food is an emotional thing, and food is a visual thing. When you look at pictures of good food, you want to eat them. And as a restaurant, restaurants might want to explore some of these avenues where they show off some really good imagery of food or speak about some of the facts which they have. So we had to build this framework without disrupting the food ordering flow. Hence, we thought of a framework where you pull down the things and you see a lot of details. And it doesn't necessarily have to be images alone. It could be some facts. It could be a special chef who is cooking a particular kind of cuisine inside, or it could be, a special kind of packaging or a special ingredient that is flown all the way from Japan and stuff like that. All these things, this space can be used for communicating. So it's that creative space for the restaurant where they can express themselves. Right? So this framework is something that we have built. And the reason I'm repeating the word framework, because this is something we plan to use not only inside the menu, but in many other places. I like to call it the drawer framework, because you pull it and it exposes a lot of things which doesn't necessarily need to be outside, but then you pull it and then you have a whole new world of yourself. Just like when you pull your drawer and you have all your tools inside, and you close it, it's all clean and no one needs to see what's going on inside. It doesn't disturb anything else. So yeah, while creating frameworks like this, a manager or I was heavily involved into evolving some of this stuff along with my team, of course. Right? So let me show you another example at checkout. Right? So checkout is nothing but, in the same Swiggy app, when you add an item and you're checking out, essentially you're going and paying and making a purchase. This is how our checkout screen kind of looks like. So this is a cart, okay, where you've added your items and you'll go and proceed to pay. Now, of course, we are a price-sensitive market. Who doesn't like a bit of discount? So one of the things that you can do out here is to apply a coupon and get some discounts out of the bill, which is shown here, right? Now, there is an experiment that we did in some parts, or we wish to do. We did it in our grocery product, but not yet in food, which is to see what happens if we just move the apply coupon to the top and and see what the results are. What do you think is the expected outcome of this, right? Can we have the next poll out here? Right? There are three things that can happen, of course: increase in coupon use, increase in sales, increase in coupon and sales. So what I try to say is, what do you think we as a company we would want out of this experiment? Why do you think we did it? Let's see in the poll. All right, I have also casted my vote. All right, so we've got the results. 16% of you have said that increase in coupon use. 24% of you have said increase in sales. And around 58% of you have said increase in coupons and sales. And if you feel increase in sales is the answer, the right thing is it's actually both. So increase in sales as well as increase in coupon use and sales with an asterisk. Well, this is because, of course, we are a business and we would want to increase our sales. By sales, I mean more people transacting on the platform and buying more things. And that's the reason why we all are working, right? We are a business after all. But with this exercise, both things are going to happen. If you put the coupon thing at the top, our expectation is more people will use coupons, definitely, maybe because it's at a higher or it's at a more prominent place and all. But is that what we expect? That's not the only thing that we expect. We also want more coupon usage that comes with more sales, right? So because you're getting more coupons, maybe you will also buy more, and hence increase in coupon and sales is also one of the right answers. Now you'll have to be mindful about this, or we have to be mindful about this, is it is not direct all the time, right? We before we go ahead and conduct such experiments, there are some success criteria that we decide as well, which will determine whether it's a success or a failure, right? And one of the thing is how much money we want to invest in this business and what do we want to get out of it, right? If it's a relatively newer business where we are fine, spending a little more money, so maybe the balance between the coupon usage and how much sales we want to get out of it could be higher. Maybe we are okay with people using a lot of coupons and sales happening, but then not as great. But then for a mature product where we know that it already has a lot of user base and people already use it, maybe we'll have more stringent guidelines around it, right? All right, coupon usage is increasing, but that should also ensure that sales are higher than what it would be in case of a newer product. So these are some of the experiments that we keep doing along with our product team. Of course, I'm not saying that a design manager does it alone. Along with the product team, we strategize some of these experiments so that we get to know about a few things. And if it works, if it succeeds, then we go ahead and figure out a way to make it a permanent change within the application, right? So yes, running and strategizing experiments. Let me show you another thing. It is item rating. Now, if you are in India and if you're a user of Swiggy, you probably might have started seeing ratings besides items. And that's a new thing which we have recently started. And we did a bit of experiment. We did something like this. We had started where we had put 1 star because an item listing can have a lot of details inside it. So we wouldn't want to fill up the space with a lot of information, which could be an overload for our users. So we thought that, okay, let us put 1 star, and we put 4.1, and in bracket we will say how many people have actually rated this, right? So this is something that we have released as an experiment, and we saw some results, but then we thought that we could do better, right? So we went ahead and made few more versions, A, B, and C, if we were to call, right? And we wanted to check if by tweaking that design, can it result in some other things? And even here, needless to say, the expected outcome is we would want more people to buy, right? Because we are giving a validation where users would see a rating, and that might give them more reasons to take a decision as to whether they would want to pick item A versus item B. So these are the 3 variants that we experimented with. So let me zoom in for you. Yep. The first one is pretty much similar to the initial one that we had made, just that this time the 4.1 is also colored. Number 2 is where we expand all the stars and not just 1 star. And number C is where we expand all the stars and also put a faint outline around it. Of course, it might not be very much visible because there is a streaming that is happening, but in an app, yes, it is accessible. So it is visible that way. So these were the 3 experiments, 3 versions we again did an experiment with. Not really an A/B testing. Is it an ABC testing? I don't know if that's even a term. Which one do you think won? Let's have the next poll. Okay, is the poll coming up? All right, it's coming up. There it is. You have option A, B, and C on the poll, and on my shared screen, you probably see what are the 3 options are. Which one do you think might have won in this? All right, so here we have the votes. So 17% people said, around 17% people said option A had won. Around 43% people said, okay, B and C are almost a tie. So, I mean, almost everyone feels that it's not A, huh? Majority of the people. Anyways, 43% people said option B and 39% people said it's option C. Okay, now the interesting thing is when we did this, one of these options did way better than the other. Okay, it did a way better. Now, which one? You will know it soon. If you're in India, you'll know it soon because you will start seeing it on the application. And if you are not in India, I would suggest you come to India and, and try out our app and use it. But okay, on a serious note, please feel free to hit me up as and when this experiment is released, when I'm allowed to speak about it. I'll definitely want to share about which one had won. So, yeah, that was another experiment which we had done. Let's look at one more thing. It's called Swiggy One. Swiggy One is nothing but it's a membership program that we have within Swiggy. It's like, you get this membership and you get some benefits every time you place an order. That's what Swiggy One is. Now, this is an example where my team had reached out to me because they were blocked into something. They were not able to proceed further because there were lots of opinions and it was a relatively tougher problem to crack it. Let's see what that is. Okay. So we had made some changes in the Swiggy One program. So Swiggy One used to be there. There were certain benefits that you would get, but then in between, we changed some of the benefits. We made it better, in fact, right? So this is what it was. The old program was there were free delivery in most restaurants for orders above rupees 199. And another benefit was you would get extra discount in some restaurants. Now, we wanted to make it better. So the team had come up with a newer proposal for what the Swiggy One membership should be. The new benefits are these: free delivery on all restaurants for orders above 149. It's on all restaurants and not most. Okay. Number two, extra discount on most restaurants. Again, both of these are qualitative words, some and most. So you can probably expect that extra discounts would also have increased a bit, but then I don't have a number for it. And number three, extra discount on Instamart. Instamart is nothing but our grocery product. We call it Instamart. We have food product, grocery product. So Instamart is the hyperlocal grocery where you can get groceries in somewhat 15 to 20 minutes or something like that. That's what Instamart is. Now you'd also get discounts on Instamart. These were the changes that we had to land on the user. So again, remember, this is not a new thing that we were doing. We already had an old product, an old proposal, and this was the newer, upgraded proposition or benefits that we had to communicate. The challenge was to communicate in one single banner. Of course, this is just one of the places. We would repeat it in multiple different places. This was one of these, right? When I show you to you like a bullet point on a slide, it looks pretty straightforward. Yeah, there are three changes, but imagine putting the same thing in a small card in the head of a page, in the header of a page, a masthead as you see. It feels like a paragraph, right? So these were the things we had to communicate. One now has free delivery on selected, that is striked out, and it's all restaurants and not just selected, within 10 kilometers on orders above, not rupees 199, that is striked out, and 149, and exclusive discounts on 1,000 plus top Instamart items. Okay, this is what we had to communicate. Now, when the team had worked on this, they felt that the content was a way too much. Of course, I felt it too. But then these were important. So that's when, they were blocked and they didn't know that what to do, because this certainly felt very heavy for the users to grasp or understand what is happening. It wasn't holding the vision. It wasn't looking good. And it had all those problems which the team had come to me for. So then the first thing that I did as a manager was to go and have a discussion with the business team to understand if there is anything we can drop from this information. What of all the things that are changing, can we identify one or maybe two most important changes? We communicate that, and we don't really talk very loud about the rest of the things. I tried to do that, but the team disregarded. They said that no, all three are important. So you will have to speak about all the changes. That was the challenge. So we went on a working session, me and the folks from the team who were working on this, and we thought of doing something like this, right? We thought that, okay, there are lots of things, complicated stuff that is happening. Why talk about all the complications right there? Why not use one surrogate element that is going to hold the user's vision, grab their attention, so that once they are directed, then we show them what the changes are, right? It's similar to those Subway ads that you see on BuzzFeed and all, right? They said sex in big and large fonts, and they said, okay, now that we have your attention, eat from our restaurant. We tried something similar, like bigger and better, could be the surrogate element, because the moment you look at it, the first thing that you will see is bigger and better, and then you will say, okay, one is now bigger and better. And then once you see that, maybe you will also look towards the bottom and know what those big and better things are. That curiosity gap will be filled once you see that big text thing, and then we put it in bullet points under it. All right, we thought this is a great solution, let's do it. And we also made another version of it, right? So to go a little more straightforward, we thought, okay, let's call 3 big changes as that surrogate element, and after that we will talk about all the 3 changes that have come here. Free delivery on most strikeout, 199 strikeout, and then extra discounts on 1,000 plus items on Instamart and stuff like that. Okay, this is what we tried. But again, the business team said, no, the main thing should come out. And now we had a little more support from them. So we got to know that the free delivery is actually the biggest change. The fact that now free delivery is on all restaurants and not most. So that was apparently the most important thing. So after that input, we went ahead and made one more thing, which is like this, it says one now has free delivery on most, we strike out most and write all restaurants, then up to 10 kilometers and orders above 199, just slightly smaller fonts. And then we leave some space, and then as a footnote, we write the free delivery and extra item discounts on Instamart. So because that was also another important thing, but maybe not as important as a free delivery itself. So this was another version of it that we made. Now we used all the 3 versions in different places, okay, depending on context. So this was one of the ones which I have used more often. Now, if you look at it, if I just go back and look at what did I really do out here, because it's exactly the same thing, or rather it's almost the same thing that the team had already made. It was the exact same content. So all that, we did together, when we did those working sessions, me and my team, is that we tried to understand what is the most important thing and just moved around things, changed the sizes of things, changed the color of things, and so on. So that, it is not just multiple things, it is not 3 things, but only one major thing that the user focuses on. And after that, okay, the rest of the things are also present. Now, if you compare it from the first one, we haven't reduced the prominence of anything. In the first one, we haven't reduced the prominence of anything. We just increased the prominence of one of the things, right? So it turned out to be a win-win, right? We are not reducing anything, we are only increasing. But in the process, we are helping the user direct their vision in a way which we feel is most important for them. So yeah, this is one kind of unblocking that that you are expected to do as a manager. Now, if you look at this, you may say that, hey, this is graphic design, this is not even product design. I agree, this is probably graphic design that we did, but this was a one damn important piece of graphic design that we had to do to communicate it in the right way. Because even though it is just a banner, it had some very important goals. It had some very important communication that we had to communicate. So yeah, I get into such working sessions. So this was one of the deep dives that I had shown on the graph that I do as a manager, something that you will also have to do as a manager. All right, let's look at one more thing, okay? Another example. So this is around cancellation of order, right? So when you place an order, there may be the need to cancel orders as well. For the longest time, there was no means to cancel an order if you place an order, right? So the only way was this: if you place an order, you're on your tracking screen, and then suddenly you want to cancel. The only way was to go to the customer care chat, and the customer care can trigger a cancellation from the back end, and then maybe you get back your money, or some amount gets cut depending on at what time you do it and all. So that was about cancellation order. But then we figured out that there were some genuine reasons why people might want to cancel. And the genuine reasons could be, maybe they missed an item, or maybe they ended up ordering it for a wrong address due to a GPS failure or something. There could be many reasons, right? So we thought, okay, let's do this. Let us make them cancel. Let's make our users cancel it maybe in the first 1 minute after placing the order. Because if there is an error, they'll most likely understand that they have made a mistake, and they would want to cancel it in the first 1 minute window. So this is how it was before. So we thought, okay, let's do this, right? So we'll show you delivery in 32 minutes. There's also a version in which we show the address right there at the bottom. The screenshot doesn't have this. So we said, okay, change your mind, we'll have a clock and cancel order. All right. So this is what we made, very narrow strip, so that it just takes this much of space and doesn't quite disrupt the rest of the things. Let me zoom it in for you. Yeah, this is what it was. Okay. Now, what do you think is the expected outcome of this? What do you think we expect out of this? Why did we make this feature at all? Let's check the poll. I'll go and cast my vote as well. Let's see what people have to say. I'm curious. Or isn't this obvious? So, okay, let's see. Thank you for all the hearts floating in. Thanks a lot. Wow, this is a nice tool, man. I like it. All right, all right. So 39% of the people have said increase in cancellations, and 60% of the people have said decrease in cancellations, right? All right, let's see. We saw around 20% hike in cancellations, right? So 40% of the people who have voted, you might feel that, hey, great, you made a process and you made a feature, and 20% more people are using it. More 20%, it's a good number. So it's a great thing on your resume, isn't it? Well, looks like not really. Our actual expected outcome, as you're right, 60% of you have said, is to decrease in cancellations. And of course, again, with an asterisk, because of course, we would want to remove those cases where the user would genuinely want to cancel. But when an order is canceled somewhere in the middle of its life, right? So it's already getting prepared, but then you say that I don't want it. There's a wastage of food, and there's a wastage of time. Maybe someone was waiting to pick that up and deliver it to you and all. But that's why we would want to actually decrease cancellations and avoid such genuine reasons. And the genuine reasons were wrong address. So what we did was not just here, we did it across the application. We made sure that we keep showing you the address in every step. So if you're a Swiggy user in India, you would know that the moment you open the app, the splash screen itself shows the address. That, hey, this is where it's going to get delivered, so that you are made aware of it right from the beginning. And then we carry forward in other places. We show it in the homepage, we show it in the food page, we show it in menu, we show it in every place, right? So that at any point of time, if you see a wrong address, you will go and change it, and we would not have such situations, right? In spite of all of them, if you still have made a mistake, you could go and cancel it. Right? That was what we had done it. So decrease in cancellation was actually our aim, right? By giving you a legit way to cancel it. So what we realized was, after a bit of research and qualitative research with people, that this clock that we had put out there, right, that was anxiety inducing, and that clock made people really uncomfortable, and they just went ahead and canceled the order. Now you might be thinking, why would they just simply go and cancel the order? It's because there's something called buyer's remorse. It hits you when you buy something and then you feel bad about it, right? Usually happens for expensive stuff. You see a nice pair of shoes, expensive one, you just go and buy it and you're really happy, but then right after that you're like, oh no, maybe I shouldn't have bought it, maybe I should have saved the money, or maybe I should have spent it on something different and all, right? That's what buyer's remorse is. And it can trigger, no matter what the cost of the item is, it can trigger at many levels, right? Food can be indulgent as well. So it might happen in case of food as well, although it is nowhere as expensive as those sneakers. But this clock, and the thing right on top of you, the clock ticking back, it was inducing anxiety, and it was triggering buyer's remorse. And that's the reason a lot of people were canceling. And that's why we saw that 20% spike in cancellations. And that was not necessarily because all those people had made mistakes. It was something else. It was a byproduct of the thing that we had made. So we thought, okay, maybe let us get away with the clock, and let us just give them an option and not show a very explicit clock which changes every second, right? So we moved to a cancel order button. We placed it on the left hand side this time because that thing is not there. We just thought, okay, we'll align it that way. And the progress bar is on the right hand side, and also it is something that doesn't change. It's a thing which progresses over time. Over a period of maybe 1 minute, it's going to fill up, and that's when you can't cancel anymore. But it's definitely not that time bomb ticking like it was before. And after it it was fine. We didn't really have any problem out there. And yep, this is some of the work that I am involved in. It pretty much falls into those 4 sections that I have spoken about. In addition to that, of course, there are other things which I didn't speak about, which is, say, evaluation. I evaluate my team. I get on one-on-ones with them and keep giving them feedback. I prepare growth plans for them. Okay, you know what, in the next 2 months, maybe these are some of the things that you can work on. What do you think about it? So it's a co-creation, a professional development plan that we work on, and each and every individual kind of follows that, because everyone wants to grow ahead in their life. So their growth is kind of my responsibility, or at least I'm an enabler in that regard. So yeah, that's pretty much the stuff that I do. And now, maybe this doesn't need to be a poll. Like, the question is, do you want to be a manager? Do you want to be a people manager? Do you still want to be a people manager? If it is, maybe let me know in the comments, because yeah, honestly, this doesn't need to be a poll. Let me know in the comments if you still want to be a people manager, because it's a very exciting thing to do. I personally love it, because having a team, seeing them grow, seeing them perform, is a great feeling, which I believe uh, is not possible in ICE. Okay, or maybe I'm biased because I became a manager, but I love this job. This has got growth potential. This has got a lot of learning potential. But you take your pick, and that's pretty much what I had with me, folks. Those are my social handles. You can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, and I also have a YouTube channel where I teach a bit of design. And these days, I'm actually more active on my Instagram page, which is, of course, not purely about design, but it's much more diversified, where I just combine learning and entertainment, and I create some 90 seconds videos where I talk about various stuff, things, design as well as non-design. So that's about it. That's all I had, folks. Thanks a lot. And if we have some time remaining, maybe I can take some questions. Maybe I'll stop sharing my screen so that it's easier. Okay, I can see the questions out here. The question I see, a question from Aman Mathur. Though subjective, but at what point one realized that you are experienced enough to step up as a manager? Well, Aman, the thing is, there's no one single point, I would say. Management starts with smaller set of things which everyone does. Maybe even if you're an individual contributor, you are probably doing it already, which could be working with other people with you, maybe working with a few other junior designers with you, delegating some work to them, right, mentoring them, or getting into meetings with stakeholders, which are, of course, part and parcel of any kind of design. So those are some of the signals, right? Do you enjoy doing them? Or are you more of a person who is kept to himself or herself, right? That is something you can see as a trigger. And of course, it's not just you. Your manager will also enable it for you, because when you're almost at the junction or proceeding towards the junction where you might have to make a choice, your manager ideally gives you opportunities before that itself. Some flavor of what people management is, some flavor of what individual contribution is, right? So that what it is. And it's not like one fine day, today you're a manager, and yep, ke sara sara, you figure out what happens next. So it's usually that. It's never one sharp thing, and only once everyone feels, you feel that you're confident at doing this kind of thing, and your manager and the rest of the team feels that, yeah, you're doing a good job, or you're doing a right job, you will eventually get the title of a manager. You will be given the title of a manager, right? In companies like Swiggy, things are pretty flexible. If someone is not sure about it, you can always take up an individual contribution path, and then over time you take some more time and figure out if you want to switch, right? There are people who have done that in Swiggy. In fact, my co-director, the other director at Swiggy, who handles the newer initiatives, started off as an individual contributor, but then he also started managing people, and he did a good job. He liked it, and now his title also changed to that of a people manager. So yeah, you will get all those options, hopefully. Next question from Rama Rizana. Any particular challenge and obstacle during your transition that could be inspiring input for someone following your footsteps? All right. Okay, aspiring product manager. Oh yes, there could be many challenges. I'll call out one thing which is very specific to maybe a company like ours, a startup, right? Which is bandwidth. Because like I said, as a manager, you'll be dabbling between different stuff. You'll have a very broad context of a lot of things, and you can at best go really deep in some instances, not all of them, right? And mind it, that is possible only when you have enough people who's taking care of that part, which enables you so that you can afford to just go deep one time and then come back because someone else is taking care of it on your behalf in your absence, right? But in a world where you do not staffed enough, which was the case a while back, right? During COVID, of course, hiring was frozen and all. You still had to run the show. So that is the time, when you are going broad as well as going deep, because you have to. You don't have enough people to take care of all the things that the organization needs to build. Of course, it's a very startup scene that I'm talking about. That was by far the most challenging thing that I faced because it can burn you out as an individual, because honestly, you can't go broad and fully deep at the same time. It's very difficult. So that was, I think, the most challenging thing that I faced as a manager. Okay, let's see the next one from Deepika. Oh, I see different questions here. Okay, yeah. What work contribution what work contribution an IC can make in the team that adds on to be a manager? Well, I think, Deepika, I covered a part of this question in the previous one. See, as an IC, like I said, IC also has that 20 to 30% other work, right? So that other work involves some of these things, which is mentoring people, delegating work, and getting into tough conversations with other stakeholders, where you put forward your thoughts as to why it should be this and not that and all. Like some of these, you can arguably say that that's a part of IC's work as well. Yes, exactly. But then some of these can actually evolve more and become a manager's work. So if you really want to work on a few things, right, maybe take up bigger work, talk to your manager and say that you want to be in the managerial path and you want to evaluate yourself if you can be a manager sometime. Work with a smaller team, get one or two more individuals. Doesn't have to be reporting to you. They can still continue to report to your manager or whoever the other manager is, but they can work with you. You can mentor them. You can you can do everything, and then you see if you're enjoying, if you're doing it right. If you're doing it right, your manager is going to observe you, is going to see you, and then maybe that will add up to a skill that will make your manager in the future. Okay, I think we just have 3 minutes left, folks, so I can take one more question. I see Neha Fatima has got a question. How long should one work as an IC before shifting to a managerial role? Very subjective question, Neha, actually. If you look at me, I had worked around 4 years, around 3.5 years before I was made a manager. Honestly speaking, I didn't know that I would be made a manager. I always felt that I can be a good manager because I'm a people person. I'm an extrovert sort of person. So I thought I could be a good manager. But then I got that opportunity. After around 3.5 years, I saw that my manager was always pairing me with another junior designer. Was like, well, you both figure it out. Right? That's the kind of brief I used to get, right? And then I would figure it out, maybe make some chunks out of it and say, okay, I would tell the other junior designer, hey, but why don't you knock off this part? I'll work on this part. And then, we can sync and exchange notes and stuff like that. So essentially what I was doing was I was delegating, right? By the way, that junior designer is a product design architect today, so not junior anymore. But I think that's how it started. I got the flavor of it and I enjoyed it. And maybe I did a good job. That's what my manager observed and eventually gave me a title, which was a manager, right? So again, no duration that I can prescribe. In my case, it was around 3.5 to 4 years. I was at a startup, remember that. In a bigger company, if you're in a multinational company, it'll definitely take longer. It should take longer than this because things are much more systematic out there. All right, I think we have run out of time almost, and that's it, folks. That's all for today. And thanks a lot for being a wonderful audience. It was lovely speaking and catching up with all of you. See you all. Bye-bye.